So here I am driving along on a dirt road, and off to the side, all of a sudden I see what looks like an old campsite. Very old. There was a fire ring which had been pretty much filled in with weeds and dirt over the years. So I decided to metal detect for a while. And these are the treasures that I found. Mostly a lot of lead and parts of bullets. Commonly this is what I find when I'm out metal detecting. But in some trips in the past I have been lucky enough to find some gold. On this trip no gold with the detector, but I was able to collect these items of trash and take them out of the environment. So there you go.
Hey, good morning. Well, basically, it's almost 7 o'clock and the sun's coming up. I'm up here, pretty far out of the way, in an area that I didn't expect to be grabbing a sample from, but I'm looking at this concreted, ancient river alluvium. Got in here all sorts of different types of cobbles, cemented in, some very large ones. Here's a large cobble right here, and but basically what I'm doing is I'm taking the surface material, and I'm taking the material that is eroded off for millions of years off of this deposit here, or this formation, and I'm taking this, I'm running it through my classifier, 1/4 inch classifier. I'm going to take 2 buckets back down to the camp, and I'm going to run that through the dry washer, and then I'm going to pan it out. So this will be the 3rd sample. This is day 3. Beautiful night last night. This morning it's about 65 degrees, and that sun is coming up. It's going to start cooking everything again. You can see here, this stuff is pretty well cemented. I didn't bring my pick up here. Could have brought my pick. My pick would have been helpful here, but you can see it doesn't take a lot to break it apart. But yeah, that's where I'm getting a sample. I'll check in later. Okay, moments later, here I am with, this is the water from yesterday. You can see it's pretty well settled out. What I've done is, after that 2nd sample last night, I took the oversize, I took the 1/4 inch plus oversize that was on here, and I scanned it with my small metal detector, and there was no metal, there was no gold, no lead, no metal in that stuff. So I cast it aside, and now what I do is I take a little fish net I bought for about $1 at Walmart, and I scoop up scoop out the mud and I let it drip out, sort of wring this out, and then that gets out the majority of the larger debris in the water. And then because you have to have some depth in the water to work the pan efficiently. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to add a little bit more water, and I have that little bit that we just went through with the dry washer from the bucket and a half sample. That would be sample number 3 for this particular area. And you know, it's not uncommon to have to go, you know, you want to sample a lot before you figure out where you're going to actually devote most of your time. So this is sort of part of the learning curve about learning an area. And so since I've already got it classified 1/4 inch minus, I don't need to do the oversize. I classified it up there where I was digging. So okay, so I'm going to put about half of it. This is that same stuff we just went through with the dry washer, where I saw you how the dry washer works. So I'm going to put half of it in there. Very ancient old riverbed up there that I was digging in. Gosh, if I had to guess, I would guess it's more than 250 million years old. Which is hard to even, you know, it's hard to even realize that, but I think it's somewhere around 65 to maybe 250 million years old, that old riverbed up there. How it got up there, I'm not sure, but if there's gold in it, we're going to find out. So I'm going to use my hand again, and I'm going to kind of grind the stones against each other. Get it fully saturated. Now these first couple times of stratification I think are probably the most important. I'm a little bit overkill on stratifying in the beginning. I like to stratify them very, very thoroughly before I start washing out the pan. I want to get all the heavies down in this bottom corner. I've got the pan tilted to my left, tilted towards the camera. So all the heavies are going to work themselves down right into this corner. Stratify it down again. This is really just a test pan. It's not like I ran for 3 days and I'm panning out all my concentrates. You know, this is just one little test. See if there's any gold up in that spot, and to see if there is, to see sort of the consistency of the gold, or possibly the size of the particles. All right, I got that down pretty far. Put the rest in here. Again, what I think I'm going to do is I'll have the long versions of the video basically uncut, or probably uncut. And then for the vlog, I'm probably going to speed this up so that, you know, we can just zip right through to the end here. And those of you who want to see the process in full actual time can do that, or we'll be able to do that. So I think that's probably a good idea. In fact, I'm thinking about having 2 versions of every vlog, a lengthy one and a shortened. We'll see how that goes. You can give me your comments, give me feedback, let me know what you think. That'd be great. Let me know if you have any questions. I'm not going to be talking about where exactly I am. I can tell you that I'm in the Great American West, and usually my prospecting is in Arizona, Nevada, and California. I do hope to go to some other states, but mostly I'm in Arizona, Nevada, and California. Okay, we're getting down there to the goodies. It's like I think I can do the smooth side of the pan now. And when you get down to this point, when you agitate the material like this, when I stratifying it back and forth, what's going to happen is the lighter material is going to work its way to the top of that little pile. And so you'll have the blonde sands and the brown sands and these heavy stones in here, which I'm going to rake them through the water with my finger. I'm going to drag them through the water. Make sure they're not little gold nuggets. Some areas I go to, I find small garnets, beautiful little red garnets. And, you know, certainly there's usually a lot of black sand. There's different heavy elements that make it this far. You know, they make it this far in the whole process. They get caught in the machine and they stay in the pan to the very end. So they're the heaviest of the heaviest, and that's also where you're going to find the gold. I should be able to check and see here now. I don't see any color. I got some little green stones, some pretty little green stones, and it's probably olivine. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and stratify it one more time. Looks like there's no gold in here, so what happens, you have to test an area. You can imagine if I just went up there and started digging all day long. So what I'm going to do here is get it to the point where you would be able to see the gold. There's definitely black sand in there. Okay, I'm going to show you. Let's see here. Can't really see the camera. Okay, there we go. Okay. All right, now you'd see gold up in here or in the black sand. You know, you'd see some gold, and I'm not seeing any. I'm not seeing it really any, even real fine stuff. So that's the third sample. I know not to dig there anymore. Thanks for watching. I'll be back soon. All right, it's about an hour later and another 10 degrees hotter. It's 95 or close to 95 degrees now. And whew, I think it's about 9 o'clock in the morning. Not certain about that, but anyway, I got another sample. I got sample number 4. And I got about the same amount, a little more than a bucket and a half. But the advantage of this spot is that it appears that this was the bottom layer of the old ancient riverbed. This was the very bottom layer that was deposited onto some sort of a clay, some sort of like a clay. And so this is the very bottom, about a foot of material. It wasn't super hard digging. I used a pick. I brought my pick this time, and small shovel, 1/4-inch classifier. So I classified it. I got rid of everything that was plus a 1/4 inch and took the 2 buckets down here, ran them through the dry washer just like you saw with sample number 3. And now here we are. I've got the concentrates. They're all already 1/4 inch minus, so we're in good shape that way. Oh, I can't tell you how great it is to have a cooler with ice in it out here, and I put that in the cooler last night so it could chill. Oh, so great. Okay, so here we are. This is from sample area number 4, and like I said, it's already been classified to 1/4 inch minus, so I can put it right on in here. I'm going to put about half of it in here. You can see I have a pretty I have a process here that I pretty much just do the same thing over and over again. Try to keep things consistent. Similarly, normally I like to do a timed sample. I actually set a timer, and I'll usually do 1/2 hour with the dry washer, And when I first started prospecting and mining, I used to do by the bucket. That's how I quantified how much material I was processing. I used to do it by the bucket, and from what I've learned, about 40 5-gallon buckets, about 3/4 full, is about a yard or close to a yard of dirt. That's what I was told, or that's what I looked up. But you know, long ago I realized I didn't want to carry all those buckets around. So then what I would do is I would bring out 6 or maybe 10 buckets with me and a tarp. And then as I gathered buckets, I'd put the material on a tarp. Now I just do a time. I try to do so that I can quantify which spot is better than the next. I try to compare apples to apples. So that's what I mean when I'm talking about consistency. Normally I do a half hour here, I pan it out, I see what I have. I go over there, I do a half hour, pan it out, see what I have. Maybe do another spot or maybe 2 other spots. And then I decide where I'm gonna spend the next couple days or the next day or maybe that night. Or maybe I'll decide where I'm gonna come back to next time. So that's what I mean by the timing. You have to compare apples to apples. So in this case, because I'm carrying these buckets back to where my machine is, I didn't bring my machine up there. I brought the material back to my machine. So that's why I changed up here now, and I'm only really doing a bucket and a half to a 2-bucket sample. And if you watch any of the gold shows, you know, that's a ridiculously small sample. You know, these guys are using earth moving machinery, and I'm using hand tools. So there's a big difference, and a good sample for one of those guys might be 1,000 yards, or maybe a minimum would be like 500 yards. You know, it'd take me a long time to do that, so I got to do what I can do. Here's the second half. Second half of sample area number 4. I want to get it good and wet. So anyway, this area here is very interesting because it's ancient riverbed, and it appears that I'm on top of sort of a false bedrock layer, or it might be the country rock. It's really not rock, but it could be an old seabed or an old lake bed or something like that this was deposited on top of. So it looks interesting for sure. What I'm hoping to do with this series of videos and this vlog is I'm going to feature the different methods that I use out in the desert or in the mountains, or when I go beach detecting, or if I go out to an old mining camp and I go detecting using my detectors. I have 2 different detectors that I use, but one of them is pretty much a water machine, and the other one is what I use for parks, for gold prospecting. It's a multi-purpose machine, very nice. what I hope to do with the vlog is when I travel to other areas, also include those, whether I go for water detecting, maybe I go in a bay or a lake and I'm doing water detecting, or along in a river. Again, that would be detecting. And also meteorite hunting. I plan to do some trips to some meteor areas. I'm fascinated by meteors or meteorites. So I plan to do a series of different videos and just bring you along, show you what I'm doing, show you what I find. And if you find it interesting, I hope you do, you can subscribe to my channel, and you can like the video. If you have any suggestions, you go ahead and make some comments. If you have any questions, make some comments. I'll have an email in the description, and I'll also have a physical address if you want to send me some correspondence. Probably I'll stick with the email for starters, and see how that goes. If you have any questions or you want to get a hold of me. And I hope to be able to do some things for my subscribers where I offer some incentive to subscribe. All right, I'm getting down here. So anyway, good things to come, I hope, and so stay tuned. All right, now we're getting down to the bottom here. I'm going to use the smooth side of the pan. A lot of blonde sands in there, but the water is pretty muddy, so it's kind of hard to tell. For those of you that have worked with concrete before, you get that same kind of feeling when you do this type of panning out here. Your skin gets real dried out. I do have some gloves, but like I said before, I try not to do a whole lot of panning. I usually pan until I decide where I'm going to dig, and then that's it. And I just gather concentrates the rest of the time. All right. Okay, there is some color in here. Yep, there is some color. Let's get some. I'm going to go ahead and stratify it one more time. I'm going to drag out some of these larger stones. Those are all probably magnetic iron stones. There's a piece of quartz. Okay, you don't have to use a black sand magnet, but I understand in some circumstances they come in real handy. In a more controlled environment where when you're going through a lot of material. But when I'm just doing sample panning, and for the most part I don't really use those magnets, but many people do. All right. I'm going to go ahead and move it all over with my finger. One piece has some dimension to it. I can feel it with my finger. And the other ones are pretty darn small. It's all pretty small, but there's some little pieces in there, not so bad. Not so bad for $1.50 buckets. Concentrated down to, you know, it's about a sandwich bag. It's about a sandwich Ziploc bag full of concentrates. All right, I'm gonna get my penny. I'll show you what we got here. Okay. All right, here's a different penny. Here we go. Let's see. Pretty small. I understand. I know it is. I can't really see the camera. There we go. There it is. Still can't see the camera. Okay, here we go. All right, so you can see right here, looks like about 8, 9, maybe 10 little pieces. One of them is a little bigger than the others. So that's it. That's sample number 4. And not really sure if I'm going to do another sample here or not today, but I'll get back with you either way. Thanks again. Bye-bye. All right, guys, I'm back. I'm back home now. I've had a day off yesterday, and now this is the next day. So I drove back home the day before yesterday. I made it home on the spare tire, no problem, but it just got too hot out there. It got too hot, and yeah, you know, so I took off, and I'm back now. What I did was with the sample that with the material that I collected from the sample area number 5. What I did is I brought home unclassified, you know, pay dirt right out of the layer, and I brought that home, and I ran it through my wet classifier or my wet concentrator. I've got a wet concentrator which I made that works pretty well for concentrates. In this case, I used it on the raw pay dirt. So I brought home several 5-gallon buckets of pay dirt from that particular layer. I went through one of them, which turned out to be about 2/3 of a 5-gallon bucket, and I put it through my wet concentrator, and I ran it through. I ran it the whole sample entirely through, and now I've got it here in this bucket. So I'm going to put it into the small pan. Now let's pour some oil. put it in the small pan here. So the wet concentrator really gets rid of a lot of the excess material, and so I end up with a super concentrate. Pretty much it's black sand, and let's see if I can. It's really meant for, like I said, it's really meant to be, when I bring home concentrates, it's really meant to be used to go through the concentrates. Although I did make a separate sluice for it, so I could take it out in the field and actually use it as a primary concentrator. But here at home, I use it as a, sort of a super concentrator, kind of like maybe a gold cube product. It's sort of like a gold cube product, but it's something that I made for myself, and I'll probably include that in a later video. If you'd like to see that super concentrator that I made it, runs off a 12-volt battery. Let's see, anyway, I can show that in a video at a later time. So these are the concentrates. These are the super concentrates from the area number 5. Still end up with some brown sand, quite a bit of black sand, quite a bit more than the first 4 samples from out there. I'm going to go ahead and put it right back down onto the smooth side of the pan. I want to get through the video rather quickly because it's hot enough out here where I am that my camera will shut off at a certain point. So I want to try to get through this video rather quickly if I can and show you what I found or show you what I didn't find, but I think I probably found some. I've had success there before. So I don't know. I'll show you what's in the sample from number 5. And I probably won't be going out there again until it cools down a bit more. It was hotter than I expected. There's a few other areas here that aren't quite so far out. They're not out, and they don't get quite as hot. So I'll probably do, my next video will probably be from one of those areas where I'll probably be doing dry washing again, and maybe some metal detecting, but primarily dry washing. Let's see here. So you can see there's a lot of black sand in comparison to those other areas. So if you have a black sand magnet, that works pretty well. You don't need one though, because if you get all the gold in the bottom corner, you have all the gold in the bottom edge down here, if there is gold, and then you get it down in that bottom corner, then you tilt your pan back, and I can see some gold. Oh yeah. Oh, that's much better. Tilt your pan back and you can move that up. I use my finger. Because remember, I'm going to get the sniffer bottle, and any small stuff that I miss that happens to be down in this black sand, I'm going to go through that again. But for the video, I'm going to I want you to see the gold, so I'm not going to just sniff it up into the sniffer bottle like I normally do. You can actually tap that pan and get, oh, this is great. This is what I was hoping for in those other areas. In those other 4 samples. And you have to understand that this is from about 2/3 to maybe 3/4 of a 5-gallon bucket of pay dirt out of that particular layer. Oh, I can feel the pieces underneath my finger. Nice pieces. It's what I found there once before. That's a nice spot. I like that spot. Right now I'm just going to call that spot number 5. All right, well, I can show you. Keep in mind, I'll be going through this at least once more, probably once more, see if there's any specks that I missed. And I'll use a sniffer bottle and get them out. And then this stuff right here, I can sniff that right up, but I'm going to show you on the camera. Should have brought a penny. I didn't bring a penny out with me. Let's see. I think I got one. I think I have a coin. I'm not sure if it's a penny. But I think I got a coin in here. Yeah. Here we go. All right, so I'll show you on the camera here. This is from an ancient river out in the desert, and that's from about 3/4 of a 5-gallon bucket right there. So all right then, so thanks for watching, and hope to be doing some more videos, whether I'm gold prospecting in the mountains or the desert, or if I'm metal detecting on a beach, or looking for meteorites. More to come. Thanks again. Take care.